Hello friends, good to see you again through this video. Today I wanted to talk about this question. My life is full of ups and downs. Can't I have a stable life? How many times we would have asked this question in our life when we go through the ups and downs of our life, when we feel that we are actually going on an uphill journey, but then all of a sudden we feel that the journey has begun to go downhill, right? So many times we feel why my life is like a zigzag line. We call zigzag line as like that has a up and down, up and down, up and down like that, right? Most often we feel like that when we take a forward foot, like when we advance for 1 feet, we feel as if we have been pulled back 2 feet, right? That is what I wanted to share today. When we go through that kind of a situation, what is our hope and how can we expect to have a stable life, or when our life is going to turn stable, right? Or remain forever the same. So that is what I wanted to share, a passage from the Bible, an example about a person who also went through the life, who went through the same way, like having this zigzag ups and downs, and at one point of time the life felt good, and then all of a sudden life took a sharp turn. The same way he had to go through ups and downs, but eventually he saw the hand of the Lord lifting him up and placing him on a stable path in his life. So the same Lord who did that for him is faithful enough to do this same thing for you and me in our life today, and that is what we are going to talk today. So the person who I am referring here is Joseph, one of the sons of Jacob. Jacob had 12 sons, and it says in Genesis 37 verse 3, right? Because Joseph was born at the old age of Jacob, Jacob was so attached to him, and he showed him extra favor. He even stitched him a colorful coat, like a multicolored coat, and then he was showing a lot of favor. He put Joseph above all his other sons, and that did not go well with the other sons, because they thought their father was too partial with him. So what happened now? Joseph's life started in a high note, right? It looked so good for him because he had the favor of his father and he was well respected in his family. So life was at a high level, or it was like a mountaintop experience, I would say. But all of a sudden there was a dip, and the life began to go in a downhill, because as I said, his brothers were jealous of him and they plotted to kill him. But instead of killing him, what they did, they sold him as a slave to the Ishmaelites. And then Joseph was brought into the land of Egypt, and Potiphar from the Pharaoh's army, he brought him as a slave to his home. So now all of a sudden, Joseph, being the most favored child in the home, now he's finding himself as a slave in an unknown nation, in an unknown place. So this is how sometimes even in our life we feel, right? All of a sudden the favor has been gone out of our life, or we feel we are in a situation, like in a dire situation where we don't have anybody to support us, or our life is like in a downhill and we don't know what we are going to do. But it is at that time we see in Genesis chapter 39 verses 5 and 6, we see the Lord was with Joseph and he made him to prosper in whatever he was doing, right? And because of that, his master Potiphar, he made him as a superior over all his household, and he put him in charge of his entire household. So now again, Joseph's life has taken a turn uphill now, right? When he was in a downhill when he came as a slave, and now in that place he's seeing his life coming uphill now, because he's been put in charge of the whole place, and he has some kind of authority and he has some privileges which other slaves don't have. So he is seeing his life getting upwards and kind of feeling better. But again the next dip comes. What happens? Potiphar's wife is like falsely accusing Joseph about a mistake which he didn't do, and now they are putting him back into the prison. So the life has taken again a downturn now. So Joseph's life has been like a zigzag, right? From his father's house to the slave, and again being to the in charge of house, and now back he's been put into the prison with a false accusation. So there inside the prison also, he found favor in the eyes of the prison keeper, and he was made in charge to look after the other prisoners. So there is again his life began to take a uphill. And then the cupbearer of the king came inside, and he had a dream, and Joseph interpreted the dream. And when the king released the cupbearer, Joseph asked him a favor, that he has to remember him and he has to make arrangements to set him free from that place. But the cupbearer forgotten, right? He forgot Joseph, and he 2 years passed away. And again Joseph's life took a turn now, because he didn't had nobody to take him, bail him out of that place. But it is at that time, after going through that that zigzag ups and downs in his life, now Joseph is at the appointed time of God, right? He is now in the right time of God, and now God is bringing a dream to Pharaoh, which Joseph had to interpret. And because of that interpretation, the Pharaoh found Joseph to be the most wise man, and it pleased him to keep Joseph as the second highest ruler in the land after him, right after the Pharaoh. And when the Lord restored Joseph, 5 things happened, right? First, he was taken away from the prison, he was released from the prison, and then second, he was put in charge of the land, he was given a great authority. And then the third thing is, he was given into marriage to Asenath, who was the daughter of the chief priest in Egypt. So the fourth blessing was, Joseph had Manasseh and Ephraim, his 2 sons. And then fifth, finally we see Joseph becoming as a savior for his family to protect them from that famine, because he was able to store up food for them and he was able to provide for them at the time of need. So look at the way how God has blessed him, how God has sustained him, and how has God made his life as a stable one, as a stable blessing for others, in spite of he going through lot of zigzags, lot of ups and downs in his life. So today, my dear friends, that is the lesson you and I, we are going to take it from this passage, because when we go through ups and downs, right, we can easily give up, or we can feel frustrated. Why God is allowing me to go through this ups and downs in my life, in my career, in my family, in my relationship? Like, there are so many ups and downs that we face today. But you know what? There is an appointed time that God has set in our life, and when that time comes, the Lord wants to keep us remain forever, keep our life stable way, so that we can be a blessing to others. He not only blesses us, He will also make us to be a blessing to many other people. And that's what Jesus said in John chapter 15 verse 5. He says, "Abide in me and I will abide in you. The one who abides in me shall remain forever." And he said, if you abide in me, you will also bear fruit for me. You know, when you talk about a tree that bears fruit, it doesn't happen all of a sudden, right? A seed will become a plant becomes like a big plant, and then it becomes a tree. And even after it becomes a tree, it takes certain time to give fruits or to bear fruits, right? So the same way the Lord is saying, don't worry about the zigzag situations that are happening to you. Don't worry about the ups and downs that you are going through now. If you remain in me, as you go through the ups and downs in your life, continue to remain in me, abide in me, though it may be difficult for you at the moment, though it may be unreasonable, it may look that you are not able to understand why God is doing that, but you can trust the Lord. And if you and I, we remain in Him, if we abide in Him, there will come a day where the Lord is going to make us to bear fruits for His witness, which means there is going to be stability in our life. And when God brings us to that point of time, then He makes us to be a blessing to others, and through our life we are going to bear witnesses. We are going to bear witness for God's glory, and God's glory will manifest in our life, my dear friends. So today, my encouragement for you is, don't worry about the ups and downs of your life. You may be going through a bad patch, you may be going through a rough time today, but trust the Lord. He always has a set time for you where He is going to stabilize you, and He is going to make yourself remain forever in Him. Just abide in Him no matter what situation you are going through now. May the Lord bless this word. You all have a blessed and a happy day. God bless you.